I never expected my husband to say the words that would change everything. It started as a quiet evening, wine glasses half full, the flicker of candlelight dancing on the walls. We had been married for 8 years, comfortable in the rhythm of routine. Lately, though, I had sensed something different in him. Not distance, not boredom, something else. A tension beneath his touches, a hesitation in his kisses, as if he were holding back. So, when he finally spoke, his voice low and measured, I wasn't prepared. "There's something I've been thinking about," he said, swirling the wine in his glass. "Something I want to share with you." I set my glass down, my pulse quickening. "I want to see you with two men." For a moment, the room held its breath. The walls, the candlelight, the very air seemed to lean in, waiting for my response. I let out a sharp, disbelieving laugh, but his expression didn't waver. "You're serious?" He nodded, his gaze steady. "I've thought about it for a long time." 100 emotions surged at once: confusion, unease, curiosity. Was this some test? Some cruel joke? "Why?" I asked, barely above a whisper. His fingers traced the rim of his glass. "Because I want to see you free. Desired. I love you, and this isn't about replacing anything between us. It's about exploring something together." Together. The words stuck in my mind, tangling with the storm of thoughts. I wanted to be angry, but the anger wouldn't come. Instead, a strange thrill crept through me, unbidden, unwelcome. I had always been faithful, never even considered stepping outside the lines of our marriage. But now, the idea had been spoken into existence, and there was no taking it back. I studied his face, searching for regret, but there was none. Only patience. Only want. "So, what? You just want to watch?" My voice came out harsher than I intended. He exhaled slowly. "It's not about me watching. It's about you feeling something new. I want to be part of that with you." I shook my head, trying to ground myself. "This is crazy." "Maybe." He reached for my hand, his touch warm and familiar, anchoring me even as he unraveled everything I thought I knew about us. "But I need you to know that I love you, no matter what you decide." I should have shut it down. Should have told him this was absurd, that our love was enough. And yet, the idea had planted itself in my mind, taking root in the deepest corners of my curiosity. "I need time," I said finally. His lips curled into the faintest smile. "Of course." Silence stretched between us, charged and heavy. I reached for my wine, took a slow sip. My hands weren't entirely steady. I didn't know what scared me more, that my husband had suggested this, or that a part of me wasn't entirely opposed. Days passed, but his words refused to leave me. They clung to my thoughts, resurfacing at the most unexpected moments, while I was cooking, while I was driving, while I was lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling. I wanted to forget. I wanted to dismiss it as nothing more than a passing whim, a reckless fantasy that had no place in the reality of our marriage. But curiosity is a quiet, insistent thing, and the more I resisted, the stronger it became. One evening, as I sat curled on the couch, my phone in hand, I hesitated before typing the question into the search bar. Why do men want to share their wives? The results startled me. Forums, articles, confessions from women who had done it, who had embraced the idea and claimed it had strengthened their marriages rather than shattered them. I read stories of trust, of boundaries carefully drawn and respected. I read accounts of women who had discovered parts of themselves they never knew existed. Still, I wasn't convinced. Later that night, I found myself watching my husband as he slept, his breathing slow and steady. Was this truly what he wanted? And, more importantly, was it something I wanted? I couldn't answer that.
Not yet.
The next evening, I brought it up again. The moment I said, "Tell me more about this," his expression shifted, equal parts relief and anticipation. "I don't want this if it makes you uncomfortable," he said. "But I also don't want to pretend it isn't something I desire." I studied him, searching for any trace of selfishness. I found none. "What if it changes us?" I asked. He took a slow breath, choosing his words carefully. "Then we talk about it. We set rules. And if at any point you don't want it, we stop. I chewed my lip, considering. And you'd really be okay with it? Seeing me with someone else? His eyes darkened slightly, a flicker of something primal crossing his face before he nodded. It excites me, yes. But more than that, I want you to feel desired in a way you may never have before. I didn't know what unsettled me more, the idea itself or the way my pulse quickened at his words. That night, I didn't sleep much. I replayed our conversation in my head, over and over. My body felt restless, my mind tangled in thoughts I wasn't sure how to process. By morning, I had my answer. I'll do it, I told him over coffee, my voice steady. But on my terms. I choose who. I set the rules. His fingers tightened slightly around his mug before he nodded. Of course. I picked up my phone, my heart pounding as I scrolled through my contacts. I hesitated over one name. An old friend. Someone I trusted. I took a breath and sent the message. The room was bathed in warm, low light, the scent of expensive cologne mingling with a faint trace of my own perfume. I stood near the bed, my pulse thrumming beneath my skin, my breath shallow. I had chosen this place carefully, a high-end hotel, discreet and detached from the familiarity of home. A place where reality could be momentarily suspended. And now there were 3 men in the room. I had chosen them carefully. Daniel, my old college friend, had always carried an air of quiet confidence, his dark eyes brimming with unspoken mischief. And then there was Marcus, a tall, striking acquaintance I had met through work, his voice smooth as velvet, his presence commanding. And, of course, my husband, watching me with a mixture of anticipation and reverence. My hands trembled slightly as I reached for the wine glass on the bedside table. I took a slow sip, the liquid burning a path down my throat, steadying me. This was real. This was happening. Are you sure? Daniel's voice was low, careful. I exhaled. Yes. I had spent weeks preparing for this moment, setting rules, reinforcing boundaries. This wasn't about emotion, I had told myself. It was about experience, about stepping outside of myself, even if just for one night. And yet, standing here now, every nerve in my body was alive with something I couldn't name. Excitement. Fear. Desire. Marcus moved first, his fingers brushing the bare skin of my arm. A simple touch, but electric. My breath caught, and for the briefest second, I flicked my gaze toward my husband. He was watching, his expression unreadable. I searched for jealousy, for hesitation, but found none. Only something deeper. Something darker. Daniel's hand found the small of my back, his touch familiar, steadying. I closed my eyes for a moment, allowing myself to sink into the feeling, the weight of their hands, the heat of their bodies close to mine. And then I let go. Time became fluid after that, the room thick with tension, whispered words, and stolen glances. I felt desired in a way I had never known before. Different hands, different lips, each moment unraveling something inside me I hadn't realized was tightly wound. I had wondered if my husband would stop it, if he would reach for me, change his mind. But he never did. Instead, he sat back, absorbing everything, his gaze locked onto me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. And then, just as quickly as it began, it was over. I lay back against the pillows, my skin warm, my breathing unsteady. The men retreated, giving me space. My husband moved first, slipping beside me, his fingers brushing against mine. I turned to face him, searching for something, regret, satisfaction, love. His lips curved into a small, knowing smile. How do you feel? He asked softly. I hesitated, exhaling slowly. I don't know yet. The morning light filtered through the sheer curtains, painting golden streaks across the hotel room. I lay still, my body tangled in the sheets, my mind tangled in thoughts I wasn't yet ready to process. Beside me, my husband stirred. His fingers found mine beneath the covers, a silent reassurance. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then, softly, he asked, "How do you feel?" I had spent half the night turning that question over in my mind. searching for the right word. Regret?
No.
Guilt? Not exactly. There was something else, something deeper, but I couldn't quite name it. Different, I said finally. He turned onto his side, propping himself on one elbow. His gaze was steady, studying me like a puzzle he was still piecing together. Different how? I exhaled slowly, staring at the ceiling. I don't know yet. The night before had felt like stepping into another version of myself, a version unburdened by expectations, by the quiet rules of marriage I had never questioned until now. I had felt powerful, uninhibited, utterly desired. But now, in the soft clarity of morning, reality pressed against the edges of that feeling, asking what came next. I turned to look at him, searching for any hint of regret. Instead, I found something unexpected, satisfaction. Yes, but also something deeper.
Love.
You're not upset? I asked carefully. He shook his head.
No.
A pause. Was it what you expected? His lips quirked, as if amused by the question.
Yes.
And no. I waited, letting him gather his thoughts. I thought it would just be exciting, he admitted.
And it was.
But it was also more than that. Watching you, seeing you let go like that, it made me realize something. I swallowed, bracing myself. What? That I love you in every form. That you're still you, no matter what we explore. And that this, our marriage, our connection. He exhaled, his fingers brushing against my wrist. It's unshakable. Something in my chest loosened at his words. For all my fear that last night might break something between us, it hadn't. If anything, it had laid us bare, stripping away pretense and expectation, leaving only the raw truth of who we were. I nodded slowly, my fingers tightening around his. So, what now? He smiled, a slow, knowing smile. That's up to us. And maybe that was the answer I had been searching for. Because last night hadn't changed the foundation of our love, it had only revealed the depths of it. And as I lay there, tangled in the sheets with the man who had given me the freedom to explore without fear, I realized something else. For the first time in years, I felt completely, irrevocably alive.